Hey babes, it's Sharonda Ishadora and welcome to Brazen Babe Reviews. How are you guys doing? I hope you are doing well. I'm doing well. I am in vacation mode and yes. So so during this video what I'm going to be doing is a book review. This is a review on Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I requested this book through NetGalley and was approved for the eGalley format. So as always, I will read the blurb to you guys and then I'll give you guys my thoughts on the book. So let's get into this blurb, shall we? So here's our blurb. The Mayan god of death sends a young woman on a harrowing, life-changing journey in this dark fairy tale inspired by Mexican folklore for readers of the Song of Achilles and Uprooted. Here we shall begin to tell a story, a tale of a throne lost, of monsters and magic, a tale of gods and of the shadow realm. But this, our story, it begins in our world, in the land of mortals. It begins with a woman. For this story, it is her story. It begins with her. The jazz age is in full swing, but Silvia is too busy cleaning the floors of her wealthy grandfather's house to listen to any fast tunes. Nevertheless, she dreams of a life far from her dusty small town in southern Mexico, a life she can call her own. Yet this new life seems as distant as the stars until one day she finds a curious wooden box in her grandfather's room. She opens it and accidentally frees the spirit of the Mayan god of death, who requests her help in recovering his throne from his treacherous brother. Failure will mean Silvia's demise, but success could make her dreams come true. In the company of a strangely alluring god and armed with her wits, Silvia begins an adventure that will take her on a cross-country odyssey from the jungles of the Yucatan to the bright lights of Mexico City, and deep into the darkness of the Mayan underworld. Mixing the excitement of the roaring 20s with pre-Hispanic mythology, Gods of Jade and Shadow is a vivid, wildly imaginative, get your words right, Sharonda, historical fantasy. Alright, so that is our blurb on The Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia, what did I say? Moreno-Garcia? You get it. Alright, so, so I will 100% agree with that last sentence in the blurb. I think the author did a wonderful job with the story. She really did create like this imaginative, colorful world built around, you know, these gods and demons and, you know, in this human girl, Silvia. And I know I am probably saying these names wrong. Forgive me if I am, but I am my mother's child and I am going to be messing up some words sometimes. So there we go. Especially if you know, some words you just don't, you know, you just don't know how to pronounce. So there. Not an excuse, but a damn fact. So again, we're in 1920s Mexico and our main characters in this story is Hun Carme, which is the god that Silvia frees from this box in her grandfather's house in his room. So just to give you a general gist of these characters, Silvia is living in her grandfather's house, but she and her mother are pretty much treated like servants in the grandfather's house because the mother ended up marrying someone below what her grandfather felt was below them, and she was pretty much cut off from the family when she ran off and married this man who was of Mexican, I guess like Mayan descent. He was what they would call Indian in Mexico. So he was considered, like below the other Mexicans. So when her mother ran off and married this man, she was cut off of the family. But her father ended up passing away, and her and the mother had to go back and live with the grandfather because the mother, of course, couldn't take care of Silvia herself. She tried to, it didn't work out, and she had to go back home to this little small town, this little small dusty town, as Silvia says. But again, like I said, her mother pretty much treated like servants in the grandfather house. Silvia is treated with the task of taking care of the grandfather pretty much, and that entails like washing his clothes, taking home his food, things like that. She doesn't like it. She hates it pretty much. She loves her mother, but she is frustrated with her mother because she feels like her mother does not stick up for them, especially when Silvia is punished for things that the family feels like, when she doesn't do things that they tell her to do, or she doesn't do them on time and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So she's very frustrated with the mother because, like I said, she feels like the mother isn't sticking up for her when she's punished for these little small infractions. She has to deal with a cousin in the house, a male cousin in the house, Martin, who is pretty much a spoiled brat, and he's older than Silvia. I believe he's older, the same age, I don't know, but I think he's older than her. But anyway, he gives her hell when he is inside of the house, and he is pretty much the reason why she is punished a lot, because he lies on her and just does shit to get her in trouble. So I wrote down some notes on the story, so let's get into these notes. So and basically it'll just be about just some information about like I said, about the characters or whatever, and then what I generally felt about the story. Excuse me. So we have Han Kame, which is the god that was trapped inside of the box in Silvia's grandfather's room. Han Kame has a twin brother, Vancouver Kame, and from now on I'm going to be saying Han and Vancouver. So Vancouver is the brother that tricked Han and trapped him and had him trapped inside of this box. And Silvia's grandfather's reward for assisting Vancouver was his wealth, which is why he's in the position that he's in when we go inside of this story. Then we have Silvia, who I just explained to you what her thing is in the story. So when she frees Han from the box, she is given the task of going around Mexico, helping him or assisting him in obtaining his body parts in order for him to come back into full power and get his throne back from his brother. The body parts that he is missing, that he has to obtain, that the brother took from him, were his ear, one of his ears, his eye, I believe it was his left eye, and his essence. So those are the things that him assess Silvia when they leave the grandfather's house. This is what they're traveling to obtain. And Silvia, for all intents and purposes, she was kind of forced to go with Han, because when she released him from the box, a piece of his body was one of his bone shards was embedded inside of her body, and she had to travel with him pretty much, because if she didn't, the longer she stayed away from him, and if that body part wasn't taken from her, she was eventually going to die. So even though she was kind of sort of forced to go with him and help him, Silvia wanted to leave the grandfather's house because of because of the way she was treated, and also she felt like if they come back from this trip and realize that she had done let this guy out of this box, she was going to be in more trouble. So she put her bet on Han, because she was like, she knew the grandfather was going to do something really bad to her, once they discovered that she had let the god out of the box or whatever. So the gist of the story is Silvia and Hun have to get all these body parts again for him to obtain his full power and get his throne back from his twin brother. Also, the more Hun stays in the human world, the more human he becomes. So they are up against time while they're traveling to get these body parts, to get these parts that he is missing. They are up against time. But those are the reasons why, she is traveling with him or whatever. He also tells her that if she does help him, he will help her, he will give her her heart's desire. And Silvia's heart's desire is to get away from her family's home. So she has these reasons to help him. And then you have Vancouver Kame, the twin brother, who is pretty much putting obstacles in Hun's and Silvia's way as they're doing this traveling, in order to prevent him from doing what he has to do to get his throne back. Vancouver also gets the help of Silvia's cousin Martin to assist him in stopping them. So, Silvia and Martin do have more run-ins throughout this story. So that's those are pretty much your main characters inside of this story. You have so pretty much Hunku, and I'll talk about their relationship. Hun Kame's and Silvia's relationship throughout the story. I thought it was an interesting one. You do realize as they're traveling together, this is sort of a romance as well, because as the more these two travel with each other and learn about one another, Silvia learns about the paranormal world through Hun, and he learns, I won't say he learned more about the human world, because while reading this story, you really got the notion that these guys had a certain disdain for humans. You know what I'm saying? They really only needed humans to assist them with things, as we have throughout the story. We know with Martin and Silvia assisting these two guys, and in their plots to gain a throne and prevent one from gaining the throne again. So you really got like these guys had a certain disdain for humans or whatever. But with Hun's character, the more he was around Silvia, especially with the way she was, because she wasn't like this meek, weak character, even though her family tried to beat her down into one. She was very headstrong. She was very, I won't say combative, she was just a very, she was that girl that stood up for herself, you know what I mean? She didn't like being mistreated. And you got from their travels together that even though they're learning from each other, that Hun is really learning a lot from Silvia, especially in being more humble, in being more, I guess, kind. Because he's the god of death. How kind can he be? Especially if he was going to go back to this underworld and rule again, you know what I mean? But he was more like humble and more forgiving of things. Case in point, like by the end of this story, he is and does, gain his full power back and is able to take the throne back from the brother. But instead of him like in the beginning, I felt like he really, like, once he got these things back, he was going to do some damage to the brother. But by him spending his time with Silvia and and falling in love with her, by the end of the story, even though he chose to stay a god and not be human, Silvia, rubbed up off on him some, because like I said, by the end of the story, when he faced off with the brother and he was able to get his final body part back, he forgave the brother, because he did realize that he wasn't the best of lords or leaders when he was, when he was in charge or whatever, which led to the brother, doing what he did to him, towards him. But yeah, so I like their relationship, and I love that throughout this story, like the more she learned things when she was with him, like the more she found out that she had to give so much away in order to help him, she just really wasn't happy about it. She was just like, now listen, you said, I loved her attitudes. Like when she found out stuff, she was just, now listen, you said, I would have to help, assist, but you ain't say I had to do all of this. Like Sespia's attitude in this book was just like, I'm sick of everybody. I'm sick of it. When is this shit gonna be over? Because y'all getting on my nerves. That's how she was. But she was really a great character. Hun was a good character too. He was very, like I said, he was this very, like, even him not at his full power, he was this very like haunty, he was a guy, you know what I'm saying? Very haunty, very much do as I say, type. But he started to like the challenge that Sespia put towards him. Like, yeah, I will help you, and yeah, I may have to help you, but you're not the boss of me. You know what I mean? So it was really great. I feel like the world this Arthur, Miss Guerrero built it was very solid. This is a really solid story, especially built around this Mexican and Mayan mythology, all these different creatures we find out. It's like I said in the beginning, it's very imaginative, very colorful, like the different paranormal creatures that we come across. If you're like me, like in high school, college, stuff like that, I loved history. I love just like finding out about other countries and in the folklore type stories that you get, what I'm saying, like African gods and Mayan gods. I loved all of that. So reading this book was really such a joy for me. And then with her just like adding, like the different type of, like I said, demons and ghosts and, with all this type of mythology, this Mayan mythology added into the story. It was really just a well done story, just built on just like this really solid type of history. You know what I mean? You can really tell by her writing this story that, she was told some stories as a kid, and she really just like put all of that, probably with her research as well, she put all of that into the story, and it really just made for a great thing. I highly enjoyed this book. I love Sespia, and I love her relationship with this god and finding out about the different things. Like, it was just so all well done and so well put together. I think Miss Guerrero is very good at placing the pieces in her story perfectly together. I think she's very good at that, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this story. It was just really, really great. So for me, this wasn't just a story of gods and humans interacting, but for me this really was a story about this young girl who's given this impossible task of assisting this god in ruling his kingdom again, but she really does turn out to be the hero of this story, because of her, this god is able to to um, to beat the obstacles that are placed in front of him and gain control of his world again. So yeah, and like I said, you do have this kind of like budding romance, or this romance that develops between Hun Kame and Silvia, and you and you really, like, by the end of the story, I thought it was going to end, you know, a way that sometimes these stories could end, but it don't. So yeah, if you love fantasy and paranormal and mythology, I think you're gonna enjoy this story. Pick it up. It's on sale now. More than likely it's available across all your book buying platforms, Barnes Noble, Amazon, and all the other ones. So pick it up, and that is it for me. Side note, this book was published on July 23rd. I was supposed to have my review up a couple of days ago, but like I said, vacation mode, first day of vacation. I was drinking yesterday, so the review is up now. So yeah, and that is it for me, guys. Until the next one, later days. Bye.